step 9 of this IPL course on self-awareness. We start moving from increasing your awareness of your own senses and the inputs that go into your mind to helping you understand them. And it's a 4-step process. First, we help you to become aware, then to understand, then how to develop your soft skills, and finally, how to use them and become expert. You're now ready for the kind of concepts that you would normally only be exposed to if you'd got a really good degree and be hired by a multinational corporation into a leadership program, or if you were paying out hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds to be on a master's course. Because in this session, we share with you some concepts about your personal power and how you use that power in leadership roles. We cover things like objective and subjective power. So I hope you will set aside the appropriate time. Look at this session, this video, in a good place, a quiet place, where you can sit down, make notes, really think about it, and possibly even replay it a couple of times, really clocking in on what are these new concepts and their relevance to how you can change your life, how you can genuinely empower yourself, rather than just listen to people telling you, you should do this, you should do that. All that incitement from other people is not going to help you at all. But these concepts, if you take them into your mind, ready to potentially use them, will empower you. And in the remainder of this course, we talk far more about how to use these concepts. But the bottom line here is listen, note down for yourself what the new concepts are, and start thinking about how you behave at the moment, how you think at the moment, and how these concepts may be relevant to you as you seek to move forward and become far more fulfilled as a person. Good luck. There's one topic I really would like to cover with you if I can, while I've got this material, while I've got this particular material on the board. And so I'm going to wipe off the stuff we don't need anymore, which is the Gestalt stuff and so on. I think I made the point about just how much information is coming into your brain. So these are all the inputs. I think we can do away with this. Hopefully by now you've twigged you have got 4 different sorts of intelligence, and hope you're getting interested in how to develop them. I don't think you'll find applied functional intelligence anywhere, and you won't find the particular way I split up intelligence into EI, SI, AFI, and IQ. And I just think it's a model no one else has developed. But when I was building my model of the Chinook helicopter, nobody developed that either. I have to say, it was a huge success. It enabled them to model the helicopter, and by using the model and identifying and diagnosing what was going wrong, they were able to put those things right. And, I genuinely think that mathematical model, with the analysis that it had, actually saved probably hundreds of young men's lives, rather than having them get blended inside a helicopter. So I believe in this stuff. I believe in mathematical modeling. I believe in understanding the physical world. I believe in using technology to help us live better lives. And since 1969 or whatever it was, I've spent the last 50 years, if there are that number, 40, 45 years, working in the field of applying technologies of one sort or another, advanced technologies, computers, more latterly the communications and then the internet, and all those sorts of things, and applying them to specific situations in different countries. And in a way, I want to share with you as much as I can so that you too can live a life that you're going to be proud of
and feel fulfilled. And that's why I'm doing this. Anyway, but moving on. As I say, your emotional intelligence, your social intelligence, your applied functional intelligence, which depends, you can't function effectively without having an awareness of your own emotions, being able to identify the emotions of others, then building up your soft skills in the social intelligence part, being able to function really, really effectively and drawing upon facts and information and that sort of stuff to increase your functionality, your effectiveness in the world, and your well-being, because I can assure you, once you start using all this stuff, you really do feel proud of yourself, and so you should. Without understanding it, without an awareness of this model, people thrash around. They don't get there. And I think if you're prepared to commit the time, and it will be a lot of time, to the videos that I've done, which just as a promo, they're called the Corbin Dialogues. At the moment they're called that. They're not published. They're not published anywhere yet. TCD. I'm working on those at the moment here in California, but it's a set of about 60 videos covering the dialogue I had with my grandson Corbin. It's a form of experiential learning. It's called socio-cognitive learning. There's some jumble words for you. And quite a lot of the ideas came from a guy called Carl Rogers. That's C-A-R-L Rogers, a terrific guy who did a great deal of research, practical research on learning and teaching people. And he's acknowledged, actually, nobody knows who I am, but Carl Rogers is acknowledged. And he did some tapes himself. I don't know if he did tapes. He certainly wrote a book on experiential learning. Pretty sure he wrote that book. And also a book he is known for is called Freedom to Learn. And if you Google or YouTube or whatever, Carl Rogers, C-A-R-L Rogers, you'll find some very good PDF type things on principles of learning. Now they're good stuff. They're not so much aimed at the individual. They're more aimed at teachers and lecturers as to how they can reshape the environment of teaching so that it's more productive and more effective and assists the students in their classes to actually learn stuff rather than feel intimidated and oppressed and bored and purposeless. Because the whole key to good learning and teaching is to make it purposeful. People cannot remember stuff unless it has a purpose behind it. It really is worthless, really, to try and teach someone something unless they have a purpose. You may have a purpose trying to teach it to them, like you're getting paid as a teacher to go through this curriculum. But if the students don't have an interest, you're wasting your time. They're not going to remember it. So let's move on then to probably the inputs. We don't need all this stuff about the detail here. I probably might even finish up using that space. So there's your inputs. I'm going to move the inputs to up here. Now, when Corbin first came to me and asked me, could I help him to become more effective, he wants to be a musician, not just to play, but to be successful in the world of music. And he realized when he was going for interviews, he wasn't able to show people just how good he was, to convince them that he had a lot of capability. And also there was a lot of stuff that was holding him back personally because he couldn't articulate how good he was. He felt intimidated by the environments that he was going into because he's relatively, as a young man, just starting out in life, he has what's called low personal power. So it's personal power. Now this isn't going to be about personal power. You might regard this as a bit of a seed for personal power, and I may do another session on what is personal power. But the bottom line is, if you're a young person, you don't really have much in the way of authority. You don't have much in the way of experience. You may not have much in the way of what's called reward power, the ability to reward someone for doing what you want them to. And there's, as I say, there's about 10 types of power that you can develop for yourself. And, once you've got all those, you're in good shape. But you have low personal power. Power is two things. It's objective, which is real authority, called objective. Right? You're the boss of a company, you issue orders, and people have to obey your orders in order to keep their job. So that's called objective power. Or a policeman comes up to you and says, "Don't park there, sir. It's breaking the law. If you do that, I'll give you a ticket." Yeah. But then there's also psychological. So objective power and psychological power. Now that same policeman, when they come up to you, they're going to have a uniform and a badge. In the UK, they have quite a number of them have a really silly hat on, which used to signify power about 100 years ago. Nowadays, it just looks a bit daft. But you will find that anyone who wants to be able to project authority, take something like a judge in court. Well, judges do have objective power, but they also like to use psychological power. So they'll sit up there, and their bench is higher. They're up there. There's your judge. He may have a special uniform on. I don't know what it'll be. It might be made out of mink or something mad. He might well have a special silly hat on, which is a sort of symbolic judge's hat. He'll have a certain expression, because you can project psychological power and authority by the way you hold your chin, the way you engage in eye contact, the way you break contact if you're not interested in talking to someone and control the conversation. Those are all psychological power. You can learn psychological power. Psychological power is a soft skill. This is a soft skill. You can learn it. And I'm not sure how much in the videos I teach Corbin psychological power, but with some psychological power, you can build confidence, self-confidence. This is a special ask that Corbin had for me. It wasn't that he was insecure or anything like that, but he felt he needed to build his self-confidence somehow. And that was a terrific pleasure for me to help him do that. And I agreed with him right at the front that we would record pretty well all of the sessions we had. And so I have dozens of hours of video watching him go through that actual process. And I think that's probably the best resource you will ever find of how to learn to build your own self-confidence. I haven't seen anything like it anywhere, which is why I wanted to do it, why I'm editing it, and why I hope to get it out there. And I think, potentially it could change your life for the better, I might add. So that's what I'm aspiring to. So self-confidence. Now, that's not a promo. I'm not trying to sell this stuff. I'm not saying, buy my course, it's only going to be $5,000, or come to Stanford, or come to Berkeley, or whatever. This course will only cost you $200,000. Well, I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm trying to share with you a lifetime of experience, which in some ways, you can be anything you want to be with this knowledge.
Why not get your life book out now and start making some notes on personal power? We've mentioned about 5 types of personal power during this particular session, but you can look it up. You'll have to be careful at the sort of stuff you believe, but there are about, at least 10 different types of power. And if you look carefully, you'll probably find real food for thought on the kind of powers you can start thinking about building up for yourself.